But yeah, I'm back for part two. Again, people. Um, yeah, I left off at Scorpio. So Sagittarius, with Sagittarius in the eighth house. Sag is dealing with cardinal, not cardinal, mutable fire. So this is adapt. They adapt. They adapt to the vision. They adapt to ways of seeing things. So they always are changing and incorporating things. And letting things go as well. That's what the mutable signs deal with. So they're always changing views, changing feelings, letting go of views, letting go of feelings, and adopting views and adopting feelings. And through the course of that journey, a philosophy is developed, a broad perspective is developed, and a story is developed. A storyline has unfolded, a chapter has unfolded. A path, has been taken. Well, not really a path. It's just there's there's a journey. There's a journey to everything, and because of that, there's travels that the person can kind of there's wisdom that the person can share now. They can share kind of like the broad perspective that everyone can kind of relate to. Everyone can kind of be like, oh yeah, I've been through that. I see that. I've seen that myself. I've viewed things like that at one point in my life, like that as well. So with this being in the eighth house, someone could have taken, or something could have suddenly killed this for you, killed your ability to have faith, killed your ability to keep experiencing, killed your ability to stay open to life, to new life experiences, and to being spontaneous and kind of just following what you feel in the moment, and just allowing that to be the only thing that guides you forward. Someone took away someone or something robbed your faith in life. Or you might have been manipulated, or someone else used their faith to kind of kill off your ability to kind of search for your own sense of purpose and your own spirituality, your own beliefs, your own convictions, your own truth, your own journey. So you even have to manipulate to kind of get freedom, to free your spirit, to get out of a cage, to get out of a certain moral system, and all the obligations that it might force on your spirit to be a certain way that that isn't natural, just to survive. But you have to kind of fake it just to get along with everyone else in your surroundings, or else it's like a dark circumstance could happen, or a very life threatening circumstance could happen where you're suddenly thrown out, things like that. Manipulating for freedom, manipulating for just to have your truth, access to your truth. So this might mean using other people's truth, using other people's storyline, other people's experiences, other people's meanings and reasons, other people's teachings, other people's guides and metaphors, and even albums as well. Like anywhere where people kind of tell a story, lay out a journey for people, even like TV shows, things like that, things that have a destination to reach, an ongoing destination. Yeah, you might use that to fill a void, and then you might repurpose it for your advantage. But this can mean taking taking power and control over your faith once more, or even recreating what faith even looks like, what it means to really have to go through a circumstance that requires absolute like faith to even be alive, to even be alive and go through what you've been through. That's something that's a testimony in itself. And that's you kind of show people, you could even show people how to be faithful when they're like in circumstances that people be like, how are you even still going, like how are you even still in that circumstance? How how do you how do you you could have literally, especially if there's a placement here, you could literally experience the full totality of the eighth house, to a point where you're very wise about people's voids, about people's deepest insecurities, about people's pain, people's trauma, and how to also how to heal this as well, how to transform this, but also how to cause people to be in that energy. So this is also a very powerful placement. Um, Going on to Capricorn in the eighth house, I got this placement. This is like dealing with cardinal Earth. So Capricorns are very good at managing, because they are the initiators of reality. Capricorns are master manifestors, masters of the material realm. Basically, they they lead the material realm. They lead the conditions. They lead the rulerships over here. They're the ones that put things in their appropriate place, in their boxes, people, places, and things. Things that put things in position as well. Create hierarchy, create business, create infrastructure. That's Capricorn. Create reward systems. You know, create the pecking order. Yeah, just yeah. They're the Capricorns are the blueprint. That Capricorn energy is about the blueprint. Managing, being in a place, in a position of authority, where of considerable responsibility, where the pressure's on your shoulder, pressure's on your back. You know, if you don't do it, no one will. Kind of energy. So when it's in the eighth house, it could be that this energy, this was suddenly kind of taken from you from out of nowhere. You know, I guess the authority in your life. You know, the the person that managed your situation, the person that was there for you during dark times in your that dark periods in your life where you were very uncertain about where you would get your next job, or your next pay from, or where you pay bills. Who would the person who would always like be responsible for things, you know, be in a household. They might have suddenly gone through a life changing circumstance, or they suddenly left your life, or they just don't play that same role anymore from out of nowhere. So now you're dealing with the remnants of that, with that energy. So you might use other people's authority, other people's management, other people's rulership, other people's guidelines, other people's dominating behavior as well, other people's positioning in society, other people's careers as well, and just status. Use that to your advantage, and also what other people make public as well, what people externalize, using that to your advantage, and reinventing what success even looks like in the first place, reinventing what management even looks like in the first place, reinventing what authority even looks like in the first place, reinventing what infrastructure looks like in the first place, reinventing what business looks like in the first place, reinventing what publicity even is in the first place, you know, or what respect is even in the first. It's very good placement. It's actually a very good placement. This is someone that can help people feel like sky is the limit when it comes to career options, you know, or progress in life, or where they can end up, and just how much power they actually have over their own deepest thing that they feel like they have no power over. This is someone that helps people gain management over it. Okay, even in dark situations, this is someone that is like that stronghold for people going through those dark moments. With Aquarius here, Aquarius is fixed air, so dealing with having your own way of thinking and communicating, a constant way of thinking and communicating. That's like none other. You know, you're in your own space with this energy. Aquarius, being a fixed air sign, contains a lot of their thoughts, i.e., Saturn's rulership. There's a lot of authority here with Aquarius, but it's authority over their own mind, and self-governance and self-reliance on their own intellect. You know, on their own perception of reality, rather than the majority's conception of reality. Because Aquarius sees themselves as an individual, as we are all individuals, and we all have our own minds, but they don't believe forsaken. They believe in forsaking individual thought for the sake of getting along with everyone, but they do believe in everyone having the right to freedom, having the right to their own space, you know, to think as they please. So Aquarius is very much interested in having space to think as an individual, where their thoughts can't be contaminated by anyone else's, or conversion with anyone else's. So Aquarius spends a lot of time alone or in their own head, thinking, unless they're in an external space that where everyone can kind of share a similar mentality, but everyone still has their own mind, i.e., a community, a grouping, a collective, a society, like a bubble. So with Aquarius here in the eighth house, that ability to exist in your own space, your own bubble, to have your own mind, to be unique as well, and to be distinct, to be rare in what you say as well, that could have been suddenly taken away from you. Someone could have tried to control that freedom, that sense of mental freedom. That's your sense of space. So you could have other people trying to really like get all up into your personal space, like with Aquarius in the eighth house. You can get strangers trying to come and just divulge from out of nowhere. You can get like strange people coming into your space and sharing their own mental eccentricities or just abrupt thoughts that just come out of nowhere, just coming out of nowhere and just sharing that with you, sharing all these secrets with you. It's like, what the hell? I didn't even ask for that. Like, it's because you're keeping your own uniqueness or your own way of thinking and communicating under wraps. So therefore, people are like, oh, you're not being upfront with your individuality. So I'm just gonna, not individuality, but with your own mind. So I'm just gonna, get in there and share my own mind with you instead, and be myself and be completely irrational to you. You Cancer risings, I have this. Will know I'm a Cancer rising. I get this a bit. But I feel like I have control. But anyway, so you might, with Aquarius in the eighth house, you might use other people's own way of creating their own space, or other people's own bubbles. How other people, how other people are unique and original with their thoughts too. Or other people's even ideas regarding space as well in general. I exist in space right now, space within space. We are in space right now. And the thoughts that people have as they are in their own space, you might use that to your advantage, and you might then also gain a new way of how to you might repurpose how you utilize your own space in the first place, your own mind in the first place, your uniqueness in the first place. So yeah, and then you could free other people and help them reinvent their uniqueness or take power and control over it if they had it taken from them, or they felt like they had to always fit in. You free people from that insecurity with this placement. And then last but not least, Pisces in the eighth house. Here, Pisces is dealing with the collective ocean. This is where everything starts and everything begins. This is where everything starts, everything ends, This is the spirit realm. This is everything and nothing all at the same time. This is the imagination. This is reality. Because without an imagination, there would be nothing physical. This is why Pisces is technically the first and the last sign. They're every sign. Because water is where everything, like, look at water. Water exists here, but it also exists there. You could say up there, you could say down there, but really up and down don't exist. It's more about in and out, And what exists within is more so water, and what exists without is space. And what we can fill that space with, which is the contents of our imagination. You get me? So, yeah, and the air is just like lighter forms, less dense forms of water. Yeah. But fire comes before it because we need that vision. We need to see something being possible before we can even start to add an emotion to it, a feeling to it, before we can even start to give it a sense, before we can even have a sense of connection to something, which is what Pisces deals with. What Pisces is dealing with, collective connection, what everyone is feeling, the general mood, the general vibe, the general energy. So Pisces get a feel for what everyone is going through, So here in the eighth house, that sense of compassion, that sense of collective connectedness, that perspective that we all come from the same place, that we all come from the same place, and that therefore we all have a naked self. We all have a subconscious realm. We all have an imagination. We all have a naive side that's very much so boundless and isn't labeled by anything in society. Doesn't have to conform to any sort of laws, and it's just free. that side of ourselves that we tend to keep behind the scenes or alone, that we tap into when we're alone, here, that could have been taken away from you. That ability to even do that. Someone could have controlled when you even had time to do that. Or a situation could have stopped you from being able to do that, from being able to just be naked, from being able to just be vulnerable, you know, being able to kind of just let the flood works go and just just be in the emotion that a situation calls for, that a situation might have made you feel, or that just how people would normally react, you know, or feel if a dark situation was to take place, or if something was to suddenly be taken away, you know, a crisis situation happened, death happened, a life-changing event. If any of that happened, how people would normally, the outpour of emotion that would happen, or how people would normally come together and feel, you know, and unite based on the loss of this person, place, or thing in their life. It might have happened so many times here, since it's that Jupiterian influence, that you can't even access the flood works like that. So then you have to use other people's flood works, other people's naivety, other people's compassionate nature, overflowing emotions as well, other people's unconditional love as well, just loving nature. Use that as you can use that to either drain them of that energy and use it, and so you can recharge and get that sense of naivety back, sense of that sense of um that sense of blind faith and blind optimism, you know, get that back so you can tap into your inner child and just be free. um or you can literally use them as a reminder of that once being you, or you still having that in you, and reminding you that sometimes it's actually okay to cry. Sometimes it's okay to feel, you know, you're still human, you know, you don't have to be robotic, you know, you don't have to lock away, feelings that are just normal. Everyone goes through what you've gone through. You don't have to freeze it up. Obviously sometimes it might be necessary because you don't want to let the flood works out around everyone, but it's good to still tap into that. So you could end up reminding people that it's good to be vulnerable. You know, you could be very powerful when you're vulnerable. Your vulnerability could be very influential with displacement. I think Drake has this. Pretty sure. Leo risings in general, if they can get over their fear of vulnerability, very powerful, very influential with that energy. So yeah, hope you guys like this video. Please like and subscribe. Share with your friends. Retrograde Pappy on YouTube. Yeah, this video coming soon. More videos coming soon. Yeah.